We are back for another episode of Sports with the Z and a TI. Bryce Zielinski alongside Taylor Lattimore. We are sponsored by John Stone Supply in Troy, Mohawk Honda, and Saving Face Barbershop up in Saratoga Springs. Another big weekend of football, a disastrous weekend in the NFL. I guess it was a good weekend for Vegas, but not for our picks.
It's a good weekend for me. Well,
not really. Neither.
No,
of us.
but I mean, like I think most of the ones that I picked, you also picked and got wrong.
Yeah, the only difference
should
we
be
had
up
was
one, right?
Eagles Chargers.
Yeah.
I'm up.
So it was a great weekend for me. I mean, I gained one up on you.
Yeah, I'm still up 5 games.
And the Colts won. The Colts did what they were supposed to do.
I mean,
they did what they were supposed to do. I mean,
played the Jets.
And they did what they were supposed to do. That's all I can ask. Don't lose to the Jets, please, or else I don't know what I'll do. Quit.
All right, so Taylor got his win against the Jets. College football playoff rankings are out. So let's jump right into it, Taylor. I mean, Michigan State got upset by Purdue. That was the big shakeup of the week. Wake Forest lost to North Carolina. And Baylor lost to TCU. Auburn lost to Texas A&M, but other than that, I mean, a lot of chalk. Georgia is still number 1. Bama is number 2. That stayed the same, but because of the Michigan State loss, Oregon slides up to 3 and Ohio State slides up to 4. And I mean, that's about right. Cincinnati is at 5 on the outside looking in. We are still right on that. I mean, we told you guys, and barely beating Tulsa. I thought they were going to slide, honestly. 9-0, and they barely beat Tulsa. I'm not exactly sure what the hype is over Cincinnati at this point. They're proving week in and week out that they just do not deserve to be there. Michigan is number 6. Penn State hosts Michigan this week. And of course, my Penn State Nittany Lions are still not ranked. I don't get it.
At this point, they're just doing it just to piss you off specifically.
Auburn at 17 is 6-3. Wisconsin 6-3 at 18. Purdue 6-3 at 19. Utah out of the Pac-12 is 6-3, and Arkansas out of the SEC is 6-3 at 25. Penn State 6-3. They beat Wisconsin and Auburn. And Penn State's not right. That's okay. When we beat Michigan this week and really throw everybody a loop, we'll be ranked again. I have no doubt about it. But let's look at
safely down at 16. Or something.
They'll be in the teens somewhere when they beat Michigan this week. By the way, I have no doubt in my mind that we'll beat Michigan this week. I'm going to the game. It's going to be
put money on it.
But yeah, sure, I'll put money on it. Actually, Penn State is 1.5-point favorites right now if you're looking at the betting heads. So Vegas knows something that a lot of people don't. I don't know, man. Beaver Stadium, it's going to be a whiteout again. Mm-hmm. Michigan hasn't looked that great. Nope. I mean, I'm not saying Penn State has the last couple of weeks, but they seem to have righted the ship against Maryland. And of course, they can still make themselves known by beating Michigan and then later on Michigan State. But let's look at that top 10, Taylor. Top 4 is, I mean,
it's I
have no complaints. I feel
like it's starting to look how, like, I know that I've been quoted as saying this before, that I thought that this is how it was going to look. But I mean, I think back when I said that Georgia, Alabama, and Oregon were in the top 3. So I don't think I was too wrong. I think we had Penn State in there at the time, and I thought that Penn State would be able to do more, and that maybe this would be the year that they could be the Big Ten representative in the college football playoffs. Doesn't seem to look that way, but Ohio State's always the old faithful for that. But I root for chaos, so I would love for Penn State to beat Michigan and then beat Michigan State later on in the.
And that's just it. That's my biggest. That's my biggest reaction when I look at the top 10. I mean, you have Michigan and Michigan State right there at 6 and 7. So clearly they value them equally, even though Michigan State lost to Purdue. Oklahoma is 8 at 9-0. They were off. They were idle last week, so they didn't move. Notre Dame is 9 and Oklahoma State is at 10. But my immediate reaction is the Big Ten is in for a wild 3 weeks when it comes to deciding this college football playoff.
Ohio State is going through the ringer.
I mean,
you can be a ringer for the Big Ten.
If you look at Ohio State, they have to play 3 straight ranked opponents.
Yeah.
and that would be Purdue, Michigan State, and Michigan.
They got to prove that they should be there in that fourth spot, because these 3 games you win all 3 convincingly, then sure, fine, you belong.
And
there.
then you would think Michigan. I mean, at this point, Michigan really does control its own destiny. I shouldn't say that because Michigan State beat them. Michigan State controls their own destiny still, but Michigan still plays Ohio State. They still play Penn State this weekend, so 2 big games there. Michigan State still has to play Penn State and Ohio State, and Ohio State obviously still has to play Michigan and Michigan State. So I mean, it's going to be a wild next 3 weeks. And you look at the top 3, Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, that's all going to settle itself out, but the concern still remains, are they going to beat each other up? I personally think Ohio State is starting to assert themselves. The question was never offensively. The offense has been good, but the defense has been even better now. So
far cry from what they were early in the season when they were allowing like 200 yards rushing on average.
Exactly. So Ohio State's gotten better. I would be surprised if they don't find themselves in the Big Ten championship game, and they're going to play at this point Purdue or Wisconsin. Or Iowa, and none of them are really overwhelming in my opinion. The Big Ten East is loaded, and Penn State kind of fell victim to that. But when you look at the rest of the Big Ten, or the rest of the top 10, I should say, obviously the conversation is still with Cincinnati, right? It needs help, but I guess you could say it has a path. The reality is that Cincinnati moved up to 5 thanks to Michigan State's loss. It was not because they did anything to help their cause against Tulsa, because that was a 1-win team that they barely beat. In addition to finishing as AAC champion, Cincinnati needs at least 2 of 3 scenarios, I think, really to unfold. A 2-loss Bama team that is beaten convincingly in the SEC championship. So probably not likely, right? I mean, they'll probably lose to Georgia, but that's going to be a good game. And you're hoping for a 2-loss Pac-12 champion or a 2-loss Big 12 champion. Cincinnati really needs Georgia to beat Bama. You need to assume Georgia just goes out and wins out. You would need Bama to convincingly beat. Georgia to convincingly beat Bama in the SEC championship game to make them a 2-loss. But even then, I think the committee loves the SEC so much, and they love Bama so much, that I don't know what it would take to convince them to not include Bama if that's the only other loss that they have. Then you're looking at Oregon to lose again, or have 3-loss Utah win in the championship game, because it seems highly unlikely a 2-loss Pac-12 will make it to the semifinals. I think the committee's been clear that they don't value the Pac-12 like they have the other top conferences like the Big Ten, the SEC, and even the Big 12. So I think those are really your 2 scenarios that if you're Cincinnati, you need help, because you're not doing yourself any favors struggling against these weak AAC teams like Tulsa. I mean, look, Tulsa could have won that game. If they didn't fumble into the end zone, Cincinnati could have lost to Tulsa and find themselves out of the top 25 because of how bad of a loss that would be.
Yeah, and I think laying out all those scenarios, Georgia's, I think, a lock for sure. And I also think Bama is, because I don't even think if Georgia comes out and destroys Bama, it would have to be 40-7. I don't see any scenario where they wouldn't.
And
look
even
at
then,
but even then,
you take so much.
You want to see them have the rematch.
But you take so much stock into how good Georgia is. I don't know if that's going to be more of a knock on Bama or more of a compliment of how good Georgia is.
I think it would just be a compliment of Georgia. I think that's really how it would fall. And then Oregon, obviously, if Oregon loses at some point, that would probably be the best way for Cincinnati to get in. But you think a top Big Ten team is going, whichever one it happens to be.
I think the Big Ten champion is going to. I think the Big Ten champion goes. First off, I think it's going to be Ohio State, and I don't see Ohio State losing another game.
I don't see it either. But what if Ohio State loses another game?
They'll take a 2-loss Big Ten. They'll take a 2-loss Big Ten champion.
What if Ohio State loses 2 of these games?
Well, then they wouldn't be.
They would get Michigan, or
they wouldn't be in the
Michigan State
Big Ten championship. Michigan would be probably
fair
at that. So I mean that's what I'm saying. Like a Big Ten champion is going to be in, because if Ohio State stumbles, that means Michigan did well, or Michigan State rebounded. I think Michigan State by far is the weakest of the three. I wouldn't be surprised if not only do they lose to Ohio State badly, but the last game of the year, Penn State goes to Michigan State. Like, I haven't been convinced by Michigan State, really. And I'm not convinced by Michigan either. I think Ohio State's far in between the better. And we've had our reservations about those two teams all year.
I mean, if we were honest with ourselves, we definitely, obviously your heart is with Penn State, but like sure. if you're being honest, like it's Ohio State.
But there's a reason, like, you're looking at Michigan and they're underdogs going to unranked Penn State. I mean, Penn State's not your typical unranked game, but that speaks volume that typically the number 6 team in the nation going on the road against an unranked team would be favored, right? I mean, that's just that kind of shows you the doubt in what Michigan has shown people, but they're coming out of the Big Ten, right? So if they do what they're supposed to do and they do win these games, you can't knock them. You have to put them in. So it's going to be interesting to see. We have a lot of big games this week, starting right off at noon. Taylor, with the Michigan-Penn State game at Beaver Stadium. I will be there. It's going to be fun. I'm a little disappointed that the stakes aren't higher for Penn State, but nonetheless, we'll spoil the party for Michigan. Outside of that, Oklahoma and Baylor have a big 8-13 matchup at 12 o'clock as well. Obviously, I don't think Baylor really has a realistic shot. They're a 2-loss Big 12 team, but they could certainly ruin Oklahoma's chances for sure, because I think the committee keeping them at 8 is saying, okay, this is your week. This is your week to prove yourselves on the road at number 13 Baylor. This is the week that we've been waiting for, because Oklahoma hasn't really played anybody yet, but 2 of their next 3 games, Baylor and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma has a shot to really assert themselves as a team for the committee to consider in the top 4.
Yeah, because you got to look at it like, so we the Big Ten champion is probably going to be in.
Yes.
And then we assume Bama and Georgia are locks pretty much.
And then you keep an eye on Oregon and Oklahoma.
It's Oregon and it's Oklahoma. If Oklahoma wins against Baylor convincingly, then that's where it's like, okay, well, do you like Oklahoma or do you like Oregon?
Well, and that's just it. So if that scenario plays out, so we love the hypothetical game. We do it every week. So let's put the theoretical out there. Georgia goes undefeated. I mean, that's the expectation, right? So they beat Bama in the SEC championship. Let's just for sake of conversation, because I highly doubt it's going to be a blowout. Let's just say Bama loses to Georgia, but it's a close game. So Bama is not an SEC champion, 2-loss team out of the SEC. Great. So you have Georgia at 1, Bama still around. Let's say Ohio State is a 1-loss Big Ten champion. Okay, great. They're in. Oregon is a 1-loss Pac-12 champion. Great. They're in. Oklahoma goes undefeated, wins the Big 12. You have a 13 and likely a top 10 win. I mean, you got to exclude Bama at that point. You have to. I mean, you have to. You have 4 you have 4 conference champions, 4 of the Power 5 conferences as champions. You cannot tell me you're going to put Bama in over one of them. You can't. You just can't.
I mean, now that you
don't even forget about the conversation about Cincinnati. I mean, don't even think about Cincinnati if that scenario happens, because it ain't happening.
For sure. Yeah, I guess that would be, but like it would be so hard if I were a committee member. There's no way I'm taking Bama out. Like, under any circumstances.
I'm taking Bama out if that scenario plays. I'm taking Bama out. I'm sorry. At some point, the Bama bias got to stop.
But it's supposed to be the 4 best teams. Do you really think that Alabama would not win against Oklahoma or Oregon?
I mean, Oregon. Look. You can't. You can put that, but you can't play that theoretical. We could play it because that's what we do. We play these.
But isn't the college football top 4 supposed to be the top 4 teams, the best 4 teams, regardless of conference or anything?
But they value the conference championships. So if you have an Oklahoma team that has 2 top 15 wins on their resume, a conference championship, and they're undefeated. I mean, the Big 12, we shit on the Big 12 a lot, but it's still the Big 12. You have Ohio State, one-loss Big Ten. In my opinion, the toughest conference out there is the Big Ten. Ohio State becomes a one-loss champion out of there, and you have Oregon, who has only one loss. You're allowed a loss. How did they rebound? They've rebounded well. They have an road victory at Ohio State. Who else you have in the college football playoff? But I'm looking at an Alabama team that lost to Texas A&M, who might not even, by the time this decision has to be made, who knows where Texas A&M is? I mean, they're not anything convincing. And then you lose to Georgia. You don't have the conference championship. You have 2 losses. I'm looking at 2 undefeated teams. I'm looking at 2 one-loss Power 5 conference championships. No, I'm not putting Bama in. I can't. No. No,
you're making all the sense in the world. It's just
I know I am,
but like when it comes down to it, I still believe that Alabama would be the better team out of that scenario.
And sure, they may well be, but I mean, they lost 2 games. They're not a conference champion, and I'm looking at conference champ. Look,
yeah, but
the committee.
One of the games would be against literally like the far and away the best team this year. So it's like I don't even count that win, especially if it's close. Like, what if it's a 1 or not? Maybe not 1, but like within 3, like a 3-point spread, and Alabama covers against Georgia. Like, that's
no. I'm sorry, there's still 2. No, I mean Georgia. I mean, you can still play a good team close. That doesn't mean I don't. That's just a rabbit hole that I don't think the committee is going to go down to. I mean, they value conference. They clearly state year after year that they value the conference championship, and they do. And you've seen it in the past couple of years, and they really started doing this after the outroar of not including Penn State the year. And I will never forgive them for it. But in 2016, when they didn't put Penn State as a 2-loss Big Ten champion in, instead they went and put in Ohio State, who didn't even go to the conference. I mean, even Urban Meyer that year, as the head coach of Ohio State, said the conference champion of the Big Ten deserves to make it, and they didn't throw him in. But I'm not going there. I'm not doing it. The point is, if you have what I just rolled out versus a now 2-loss Alabama team that doesn't even have a conference championship to the resume, I'm sorry, it can't happen. I'm not. Look, Bama still controls its own destiny. I mean, they could go and beat Georgia. Now, if they go and beat Georgia, both teams are going into the college football playoff. I mean, then you have a real conversation, right? Because you will have Bama in Georgia, and then one of these conference champions will miss it. I think it would be Oklahoma, but you have Ohio State, Oregon, and Oklahoma. One of them would have to go.
If Alabama goes and beats Georgia, then wouldn't the same logic apply that you'd have to just
because Georgia's a one. No, because Georgia, see, now it's a 1-loss team, has been the best team in the nation by far. You made it to the SEC championship game. You lost. You're not going to take the number 1 team that you believed that was the number 1 team all year. And if they lose a close game to Alabama in the conference championship, no, you're going to see both of them in the college football playoff. You're going to have the conversation. And based on these rankings, where Ohio State, Oregon, and Oklahoma are, Oklahoma would be the team out. I mean, that's how I'm reading it.
Yeah. I guess so. We got a lot of college football left, and it's going to be fun. Every week, it's just
got 3 weeks left.
Closer and closer.
Got 3 weeks left. And
I love the drama.
It's drama every year. And this conversation gets so stressful and can get so heated. Expand the college football playoff. I mean, that's all I could say. I mean, then you would have Cincinnati in. You wouldn't have to worry about one of these conference champions go. You could have your Bama in if you really want them in. You could have a second Big Ten team if Michigan misses out or Michigan State misses out, and they're right on the cusp. I mean, that's what the college football expansion should be about. And I mean, it's coming. It's just 2 more years away. Before we go, sadly, but before we go to the NFL, because we do have a lot to get to, and I don't want to drag this episode out terribly long. We do have other things to do with our lives. Sorry to our listeners.
No, we don't. No, we don't. We're here for you guys.
We have no lives at all. I want to mention Mohawk Honda because it is getting cold. Thanksgiving's 2 weeks away, Taylor. Fall is officially, I know it. Fall is officially, I know. Fall's officially here, and that means changes may be coming to your home. Does your furnace need to be replaced, or are you looking for an upgrade for your heating system? Let me tell you, it might be mild this week, but by this weekend, you're going to be wanting those things to be working. It's going to be damn cold. And Johnstone Supply in Troy can make sure your home is heated properly for this cold weather that is on the way. A family-owned and operated business, Johnstone Supply in Troy, has been helping upstate New York residents for decades. Visit their store on 6th Ave down in Troy for more information on how they can help you this fall, whether it's finding that proper change for your filters or making sure your home is heated properly to the new weather. Johnstone Supply in Troy staff can help you answer any questions you may have, from George to Tom and many more of the awesome staff they have there. They're looking forward to see you. Go follow them on Facebook or call them today at 518-272-5922. That is Johnstone Supply in Troy. And I know, Johnstone Supply has a big input into our fantasy football league, and that is believe it or not, fantasy season is starting to dwindle down as well. It's kind of the push for the playoffs at this point. Trade deadlines in 2 weeks. Playoff push is alive. I'm the number 2 seed right now. I'm gunning for that top seed, and I see a clear path. So
yeah, well,
gunning for that top seed. Let's get it.
Hopefully Christian McCaffrey is feeling much better and can start putting up like 20 a game again, and then maybe I can make a push for the playoffs. But
he put up close to 20 last week.
Yeah, I think it was like in our league it was like 12, I think.
No, it was like 16.
Really?
McCaffrey got a lot of garbage time. But that's okay. That's okay. I have McCaffrey in another league as well.
No, he's only 12 in our league. In our Gozilla Media League. I don't know what the scoring is, or maybe I don't know for half point PPR instead of full, but
I'm
either
half
way,
point.
Yeah.
I had 6. Maybe there was a bonus that he got.
There must have been some type of bonus. I mean, he had 52 yards rushing and 54 yards receiving, but no touchdowns, so he didn't make it in the end zone.
Okay, all right.
It's not bad.
No, it's not. Week 9 was a little nutty. And by a little nutty, it was very nutty. It was a great weekend for Vegas. This was the type of week why Vegas is Vegas, right? I mean, a lot of underdogs and a lot of surprises. You were 8-6, Taylor. I was 7-7. That it was by far our combined worst week so far to date. I am 5 games ahead of you at 89-47. You're 84-52. We're not going to really. I mean, you can if you want. I don't think there's really much to talk about with it. But the Colts manhandled the Jets. Mike White got hurt. Josh Johnson was in, and you all saw the final score. It was a lot closer than what the game actually was. That was garbage time. Jonathan Taylor was very impressive. The Colts defense gave up 30 points on 486 yards, so that's a little concerning. But again, a lot of it was garbage time. The Colts dropped. I mean, good win by the Colts. They play the Jaguars. They should do about the same thing.
Hopefully. All I can say about this game is that with Derrick Henry out and Christian McCaffrey, in flux, I'll say, Jonathan Taylor looks like, one of the top backs in the league. He's doing work.
I will raise you an Alvin Kamara on that and a Dalvin Cook on that.
He's going to probably win the rushing title if Derrick Henry doesn't come back.
Well, that's because you don't have a quarterback that you can trust throwing the football. I'm done. I'm sorry.
He did fine against the Jets.
Yes, he did. I could do fine against the Jets, Taylor.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see you try it.
The only person that couldn't is apparently Joe Burrow. I don't get. I'm still not salty about it at all. New England beat Carolina 24-6. Sam Darnold looks completely inadequate as an NFL quarterback. He is now out for 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured shoulder. PJ Walker is probably going to start for the foreseeable future and possibly the rest of the year because Darnold looked that bad. Panthers are a nightmare. At least you finally stopped picking them. We both picked New England and move on from there. The Giants.
I don't dictate their season.
Yeah, there you go.
You want to pick against them.
I think the Raiders have hit the point of enough is enough. They lost to the Giants. I think you can only lose so many pieces before your season falls apart between Henry Ruggs and their other corner. I
I forget his name.
Yeah, but the one that went on TikTok threatening to kill people with his machine guns.
Yep.
It's been a banner year for the Raiders. And they lost to the Giants this past
and
week. And
coach, don't forget him.
Of course, yeah, we all know about John Gruden. So not much to talk about on that one. We're not going to get to it. Denver, Taylor. Now, I mean, my smile perked up. My little Grinch hairs started to curl on this one. Denver beat the Dallas Cowboys, and look, Denver's not a good football team.
No,
Dallas just didn't show up. Dallas just did not show up, and it's almost fair to wonder, like, is the second half collapse that we see annually from the Dallas Cowboys, have we hit it? I think we're on the verge of a decline with Dallas because Mike McCarthy is just not a good head coach. Their defense is shit. You see what happens when they can't force turnovers, and the offense looked stagnant. Like, I get the offense will fix itself. It's one of the most explosive offenses in football, but you kind of saw what you can do against Dallas to get them out of their rhythm and out of their funk. Play smart football, run the football, and keep away, Quadri Diggs from making any plays and forcing this defense to get to the backfield. And it's a whole different ball game. Denver outplayed, and until like 5 minutes left, it was a shutout for Denver.
Yeah, the best part about this game was I was actually at Buffalo Wild Wings, just chilling, watching with a couple people, and I was actually watching with a Cowboys fan, and just like the despair coming off of him was just palpable. It was real funny to watch because I don't care, so I was just like, oh wow, like this is weird. Like why is Denver all of a sudden playing well against the Cowboys? But I don't know what it was. Dak just looked kind of out of sorts. He was just not making great throws.
Missed the Vikings game 2 weeks ago, so maybe this wasn't in sync with his guys.
Something up with that. So I don't take too much into it. But also, I mean, Quandre Diggs he's not that great. He was opportunistic in the beginning of the year. Not to say he's a bad corner, but he can definitely get burned. He got burned a couple times in that game for touchdowns. So, I mean,
yeah,
he's not Jalen Ramsey, just pump the brakes.
Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy did what they wanted to do. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Well, and Javonte Williams was impressive out of the backfield. Oh, Tim Patrick, that's right. Yeah, Tim Patrick.
Patrick was burning him for a touchdown. Burned him for his only touchdown.
Let's look at Taylor. I think it's time to press the panic button out in Western New York.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
That was the weirdest game of the week.
The fighting Urban Meyer Handies beat the Buffalo Bills 9-6. If you reverse it, it makes a whole lot more sense. This just made no sense. Jaguars, look, they're just a bad football team. Either way you slice it, but on top of that, they were missing Cam Robinson, who's their best offensive lineman, their left tackle. They were missing James Robinson, who's like the only comparable offensive piece they have. Josh Allen on the defensive side of the ball. The defensive end, Josh Allen, made the quarterback, Josh Allen's life a living hell. Look, when you look at Buffalo, their wins are not that impressive, Taylor. They've beaten Miami. They've beaten the Jets. They don't have a win over a team that's over 500.
No,
and this is a team that, like, look, they're missing the magic that made them so fun to watch last year. I mean, Josh Allen. I'm sorry, you're allowed to have bad games, but against Jacksonville, look. I mean, this was ugly. The Bills lost to the 1-6 Jaguars. That's the worst team in football outside of Detroit and Houston. The offense is officially an issue. They can't run the football for shit. What's going to happen when they come? I mean, God forbid. I mean, look, the Patriots are breathing down their neck. They're a half game out of first place behind Buffalo. If Buffalo doesn't fix this quick, New England's playing better football, and Buffalo can't run the ball. And what happens if you make the playoffs and it's cold and you can't run the football? you're not going to win many football games. It's panic time out in Buffalo.
Yeah, if the Bills look like this in 2 weeks when the Colts play, and we might have a chance of taking that game. But it was the weirdest thing. It was actually on, I think, the biggest screen that I was watching at Buffalo Wild Wings, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. Basically,
Nobody could.
I don't know. I don't know if. I don't really think it's that we're underrating the Jaguars defense. They just had like a good game. Like Josh Allen
had a good game, but I mean,
defensive end. He had a great game.
This is a team that lacks talent in many, many positions.
Yeah, and you can obviously see that their offense, because the score was 9-6. Their offense is still crap. Like we know that they can't really move the football, so it just came down to the fact that the Bills just couldn't do any, like, throw after throw, going into the dirt, going out of bounds, going over the heads of receivers, having to run or getting sacked. Josh Allen just had a bad game, and maybe it's just an aberration, but I mean, the Titans lost. They were so close to winning it. It was a 4th down away from a win there.
So the Bill, to your point, the Bills, went into. I mean, look, until the final seconds went off, the Bills could have won that game. Josh Allen was 2 of 9 in the fourth quarter for 9 yards, had an interception, had 3 sacks, and 2 scrambles. He threw 2 interceptions, his first multi-interception game of the year. This is a team in the past 2 games, Taylor, they're averaging 16 points. This is not a good football team right now, and they got to fix it before the Patriots pass them and then look in the rearview mirror and say bye-bye for the rest of the year. It's that time in Buffalo, but we'll get to that and what they have coming up here in a little bit. The other surprising game, I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. lists. Cleveland puts up 41 points against the Bengals. I mean, we both picked Cincinnati to bounce back. Yeah. It's another team. Like, Cincinnati came out storming hot. We were ready to pin them as one of the top teams in the AFC. They proceed to get absolutely, outplayed by the Jets and cost us all.
Bengals going to Bengal.
The Bengals are going to Bengal. And then you get smacked by Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland putting up 41 points is kind of unfathomable. Baker Mayfield looked like the next Tom Brady out there all of a sudden without OBJ out there. And I can't imagine that's what it did. But Cleveland came to play, and Cincinnati, that defense did not.
No, and it also really confused me. I don't understand it. Why, when you take Odell off, it's not like Odell was really even like causing drama, not like he did in New York. It's not like we were hearing stories about him whining all the time or him headbutting.
He's really been quiet through the media.
Nothing. He was doing nothing, and like he's just there. And for some reason, that just like mentally like has a thing for Baker. I don't know what happens. You take him out, and all of a sudden they look amazing, and he looks.
Baker looked good. Yeah, Baker looked good. And coaches said last year after the OBJ injury last year, he started spreading out the ball more and was a different quarterback. So
I don't understand it.
I don't understand either, because I love OBJ on my football team. By the way, OBJ has narrowed it down to 4 teams: the Saints, Packers, Chiefs, and there's one more
Saints,
team.
Packers. Oh, I only heard
Chiefs.
Those 3.
No, there's a 4th team: Saints, Packers, Chiefs. I don't know. Eagles.
You hope.
I wish. Falcons beat the Saints and Trevor Siemian. Not really much to talk about there. The Texans and the Dolphins played. Dolphins come out on top against the Little Sisters of the Poor versus the Little Sisters of the Poor. The Vikings and the Ravens. Look, the Vikings made it a close game. The Ravens did what they did. Lamar Jackson was heroic and had one of the best games and is becoming one of the faces and one of the top candidates to win MVP this year. In my opinion, he has my MVP vote right now. Eagles Chargers, Taylor. Eagles had that game at one point. All they needed was really a defensive stop. I think it was one of Jalen Hurts' best games as an Eagles quarterback. I'm not saying, I'm not going to sit here and say he is the Eagles quarterback. That's not what I'm saying. But Look, this is a team that found its offensive identity in the Eagles. They dominated on the ground for a second straight week. They had 176 yards. Offense looked good. They just needed that final stop, and they couldn't stop Justin Herbert, who rebounded 32 of 38, 356 yards, 2 touchdowns. The defense is a bit of a problem right now. They hunt, but they hunt tough with a decent opponent. The Eagles have one of the easiest closing schedules in the NFL, and they are a game out of wildcard contention for that 7th spot. A win next week against Denver would provide much-needed confidence for the stretch run. I'm not saying the Eagles are going to make the playoffs, but they have a chance. They're one game out. Carolina is holding on to that last spot. If Carolina is holding on to that spot,
you got
the Eagles have a chance. Okay, so I feel okay. Like, look, the Chargers rebounded. They're one of the better teams in the AFC. We know what they do. They look good on offense. Justin Herbert looked better, bounced back. Keenan Allen was unbelievable and really just spreading the ball around. The offense was good, but the Eagles need to fix some things on defense for sure because it's been bad. Herbert became the 5th quarterback this season to complete 80% or more of his passes against the Eagles with minimum 25 attempts. This is a defense that is charming. Cover 2 soft. It's just unbelievable how soft this. I blame the defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon. They have the personnel. It's just been a bad game plan week in and week out. You cannot allow these quarterbacks to just take what is given each week without blitzing, and that's what they do not adjust. It's very frustrating to watch because they've been in some games that they could have easily won, like this past week. If the defense got one last stand, they didn't, and the Chargers kicked the last-second field goal to win.
Yeah, and I think it is encouraging, at least if you're going to take anything away from a loss, is the fact that I do think that the Eagles are really starting to come into their own offensively and learning that game plan, because you're not trying to force Hurts to throw it deep down the field all the time. He doesn't have to. You got to mix in a ton of rushing, like a ton. And it's a wonder that they didn't do this when they had Miles Sanders, but
they will in a week when he's back. I hope.
Hopefully, yes. Wouldn't it be just funny if he comes back and they just abandon the run again?
I would scream. I will scream.
But you use Hurts for what he's good at, which is running the football as well as making some throws when he has to, and not forcing him to stand in the pocket and make throws deep downfield outside the numbers. Like, that's just not who he is, which kind of sucks for all the Devonta Smith owners, because he doesn't get
had a great game, had his best game of the year.
He did have a great, and I benched him because he was bad up until that point.
Oh, that's your fault.
That's what happened. How was I supposed to know? Every game he's been awful. I think his best game was 9 points, like 4 weeks ago.
Sirianni said they want to get Devontae more involved.
Yeah, and they also said they want to run the ball more, and then the next
and they are
like 3 times. But now they are, yeah. And now I'm gonna start Devonta Smith, and you know what? He's gonna put up 5 points.
Well, they play Denver. Well, we'll talk about it, but they play a Denver defense without Pat Surtain, so we'll see.
That's good.
The Cardinals with Colt McCoy beat San Francisco. So in fantasy, in one of my leagues, like, I saw Kyler and Hopkins were going to be out, and San Francisco's defense was a free agent. So I'm like, oh, great, perfect. I'm gonna ride -1 point, 31
Cardinals
points against Colt McCoy. My God, yes. But
Cardinals didn't have their quarterback, and you know what they did? They're like, fine, we'll just run the ball. And they did. And James Conner had a great game. San
Francisco is not a good football team.
Also, they're just not.
Also, Kansas City continues. Kansas City's in trouble, man.
God.
They are in
ridiculous
heap of trouble. Luckily, they faced Jordan Love. I don't think the Packers need to worry about deciding between Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers. I think that is quite clear.
How bad would the score have been if Aaron Rodgers had played?
Oh, the Packers would have smacked them. That would
like 40 to 13.
I mean, the fact that they put 13, the Patrick Mahomes led Chiefs put 13 points up on the Packers.
They limped to 13 points. Like, it barely get to 13 points. So many 3 and outs. Just like, get the ball. Okay, you stop Jordan Love. Cool. Get the ball, 3 and out. And it's like, what is happening? Well, I know what's happening is that teams are not giving up the deep ball to them. And so, like, they're just daring them to run the ball and, like, dink and dunk down the field, and they
Right.
just refuse to because they're not built for that. That's not how they play. They play to take the top off your defense, and if you can contain that, then they have to learn. This is going to be a brutal season for Mahomes if he can't learn how to do that.
Look, I think it already is.
It is brutal already, yes, but
The Rams lost to the Titans in a stunner without Derrick Henry, and we got that wrong. The Rams look bad, man. This just past week was so weird. I mean, look, credit
Tennessee
to the Titans.
looks really good.
Credit to the Titans. I mean,
hate to say.
they found a different way to win. Not just giving the ball to Derrick Henry and watching him bulldoze over people, which is always fun to watch and a great game plan, but they had to cook something else up. They brought in AP. They rotated him, Dante Foreman, and Jeremy McNichols, and Tannehill did enough. I mean, the defense continued to generate turnovers. I mean, they had Stafford looking like Jared Goff all night. So I mean, credit to the Titans. I mean, good for them. And I think that's a win, Taylor, that kind of puts the dagger in the Colts' chances to win the division. I'm just going to throw that out.
The game where we could have beat them and we didn't was the dagger. It didn't matter what happened after that. There was no way Titans were giving up the division after that. Unless their offense couldn't do anything without Derrick Henry, but their offense is doing enough and their defense is really just playing out of their minds. This Titans defense is very good. They made Stafford so uncomfortable all night long. It was impressive. The Titans had a stranglehold since they won that game. Our only chance was that game right there because we lost early on in the season to them. But
and then
I'm hoping maybe we can claw back up to a wild card spot.
And then Pittsburgh beat Chicago. I mean, it was a good game, but
it was very good. Some bad penalties.
And no calls. The ref throwing the flag when the player was trying to. That was just horrible. That was.
I hate the taunting penalties in general. I think we've talked about this before. It's just
just
let them play.
Taunting is not. I mean, taunting.
They're not saying anything or doing.
Half of them is them signaling for a first down. It's really
exactly.
It's just really, really bad.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Before we head to week 10, Taylor, I do want to remind our friends about the current supply and demand challenges within the auto industry, which makes this truly a perfect time for you to get top dollar for your vehicle. And right now at Mohawk Honda, you could take advantage of the Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash offer. They will put cash in your hand for your vehicle the exact same day you come in, even if you don't buy from them, which is a pretty sweet deal, especially for all you college grads out there or students in need of a new ride or some extra cash. This is definitely an avenue for you to look into. Mohawk Honda has consistently kept their lot fully stocked with hundreds of pre-owned vehicles, and their large inventory makes shopping fun as you browse through the many makes and models to choose from. You can also check out their full selection online, so say you can't go in to the store that day or you want to do your research before you go, you can do that as well. Stop in and say hi to Greg Johnson, the assistant general manager, or Jake Hot Sauce Doyle, or Louis, the VIP man Morales, or one of the many other helpful sales consultants there at Mohawk Honda. There is a vast selection of Honda certified pre-owned vehicles, so now is the time to take advantage of that Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash offer I've been telling you about. Mohawk Honda in Glenville, where they always go out of their way to please you. Taylor, let's hope for a better week. Picking them, huh? Let's try to turn this thing around. Let's turn this thing around, and let's start with the Thursday night football game. Baltimore, who has turned things around. Lamar looks like the MVP favorite right now, in my opinion. Head down to Miami to face Jacoby Brissett and the Miami Dolphins. Tua is officially out once again this week. And you're hearing the show on Thursday. So tonight, Baltimore and Miami. I don't think there's much to say about this. Baltimore is just feeling themselves right now, and Miami is one of the worst teams in football. I'm going to go Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm also going to go Baltimore. If Miami wins this, it'll be the start of another long week of weird-ass games.
Yeah, no. Well, it is Thursday night. A lot of weird things happen on Thursday night. Now, this next game, Taylor.
Nothing would surprise me at this point, too.
I would say should be an easy win. However, after losing to Jacksonville, anything goes. Buffalo heads to the Meadowlands to take on the Jets, who are going to have Mike White back, presumably. However, it's still the Jets. I can't imagine the Bills go back-to-back losses to Jacksonville and New York. If that happens, oh my goodness, we're going to have a conversation next week. I can assure you that. But at this point in time, I'm going to give Buffalo the benefit of the doubt and say they're going to beat the Jets.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if
we're going to have a whole
loses,
segment next week on the Bills.
If Buffalo loses to the Jets, then you said it was time to hit the panic button. Well, now it's time to, I don't know, alert the press that it is full throttle panic mode.
It's full on nuclear. Nuclear warning at that point.
Yeah, it's DEFCON 5 up in here, or 1. I don't know which way it goes up or down. But that would be very, very surprising. But I mean, I didn't expect them to ever lose to the Jaguars, especially 9-6. Oh,
not
God, what an ugly game.
A million years. Another game that I feel like is going to be rather. I don't like that. I feel like these games are easy to pick. Tampa Bay at Washington, Taylor. I know you have this fetish for the Washington football team.
Not anymore. I'm over it.
But Tampa, no. They're not going to lose to the Washington football team. I'm sorry. I don't even think we need to break this down. They're just that's not happening.
It could happen.
It's not. Stop it. No, it's not.
I'm picking the Bucks though.
No, I already wrote it down. You didn't even have to say it. I wrote it down.
I mean, Tom Brady. If it's not Lamar Jackson, it's Tom Brady for MVP. So there's that.
Dallas hosts the Atlanta Falcons next week. Cordero Patterson has looked good. The Falcons went into New Orleans and beat the Saints, albeit against Trevor Siemian. But Dallas lost to Denver at home. Now they host the Atlanta Falcons. We talked about Dallas potentially hitting a second half slide. Is Atlanta one of those teams that's going to knock them down another peg?
I can't see it happening. I mean, I guess I can because I just lost, but I would think that something was off with Dak and the time, like you were saying, the timing or whatever else. But I think that they'll get back to what they were doing Cowboys things. And I think
sure that's a good thing?
Cowboys things. Fair enough. I think it'll probably be a close game. I think I would bet on the Falcons to cover. It's only a 9-point spread. Just because I don't believe in the Cowboys defense. I think it's been shown that Diggs is a guy who, like, he's good in situations, but you can also pick on him at times. Yeah. And I think that, Cordell Patterson and Calvin Ridley, the Falcons will definitely work to do that and put up some points in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time believing Dallas is going to lay another egg like that against the Falcons. The Falcons aren't very good. They took advantage of a Saints team that's pretty banged up. So I'm going to go Dallas as well, especially at home. Not that it's a huge advantage when Dallas is at home because half the stadium is filled with the other team's fans every week. But I'm going to go Dallas there. Let's go to Saints Titans. And we assume that Trevor Siemian's going to start. There's some rumblings that Taysom Hill might, but this is just a team that without Jameis, I mean, really eliminates a good shot of this team competing on a weekly basis, especially against the Titans team that's really feeling themselves right now. They just keep cranking out the impressive wins, Taylor. Their last 3 wins are the Rams, Colts, and Chiefs. So, and then they beat the Ravens too. So really their last 4 games, this Titans team is feeling themselves right now. So for me to sit here and say they're going to lose to the Saints, that's just not going to happen, in my opinion. I'm going Titans.
Yeah, and I do believe that the Titans defense is just too good right now, and especially if the Saints, Trevor Siemian or whoever the quarterback happens to be, I think they're going to be overwhelmed. I mean, they made Stafford look, like you said,
horrible.
like Jared Goff. So
yep.
I think that, I mean, if they can do that to Stafford and that Rams offense, then they can do it to anyone, and defense travels. And I think No, well, they don't need to travel. They're home, but they're going to beat the Saints. I think the Titans are rolling right now, and they look like one of the best teams in the AFC. As much as I hate to say that.
Sure. Does Jacksonville have another one in them? Are they going to upset the Colts at home?
No.
I had to ask.
No. Jonathan Taylor will run for another 100 yards. That'd be like 7 games in a row. No.
I don't know if anybody.
If they do again, I know that the Bills just lost to them, but
I don't know if anybody sees my camera right now. But Otis and the Cone is making an appearance. He had his leg surgery a couple weeks ago, and he still has the stitches are out, but the cone is on, as you all can see.
He's looking at you with such disgust.
It's a DINNER time, so he's got to wait to the end of the show. Sorry, bud.
Hey. Sir, I'm hungry.
Feed me. If Jacksonville's not the worst team in football, and they likely could be, but Detroit's probably even worse. They don't have a win yet.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, I mean, Detroit is bad, led by Jared Goff. They're heading into
halfway
Pittsburgh.
to 0-16.
Sure are, and they head to Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh.
Now.
Pittsburgh's defense is really, really good. Pittsburgh's offense is doing enough. Look, I'll wait till Detroit wins a game for me to consider them winning a game again. I may never pick Detroit this year. I
don't know why you would. Like, all evidence points to you not picking. They've lost all 8 games. Like, they're on track to be the first team ever to be 0-17 because of the
wow, yeah, fun fact.
They could do it. They could set a record.
Make history. Congratulations,
Detroit Lions team.
Tank for Kayvon Thibodeau.
I'm going to pick the Steelers. I don't love the Steelers, even though they, at this point are one of the top teams in the AFC. It's weird. I don't know. The AFC is so weird. I don't know what to make of it.
The AFC is fucked, man.
It's so bad. I don't know. Besides the Titans, other than the Titans, I don't know who should be in what order. I mean, the Ravens obviously are up there, but like even they have dropped games that they should have. Yeah. They got destroyed by the Bengals, and then the Bengals went out and lost to the Jets.
No, if you ask me who I thought,
and then the Browns destroyed the Bengals. It was weird.
If you thought and the Ravens, I mean, the Ravens aren't innocent either. I mean, they've lost a couple games that they shouldn't have either.
They got destroyed by the Bengals, 41-17.
Yeah. So
and then the Bengals turned around and lose to the Jets.
And Tennessee, you have reservations about that offense longevity-wise without Derrick Henry.
Without Derrick Henry, because he sucks the identity of their offense so much so that he was one of the front runners for MVP.
Yes,
as a
he
running
was.
back, which is insane. Like that doesn't happen very often.
Last one to do is AP. Browns at Patriots. We talked about the Bills' struggles. The Patriots are starting to really turn it on, and they are breathing down the Bills' neck for first place. But Cleveland looks impressive, especially what they did with Cincinnati. They're getting healthier. I'm going to take Cleveland on the road on this one. I think the Patriots are doing better, but I don't think they're at that level yet. Like, you still have a rookie quarterback in Mac Jones. You still don't have much of an explosive offense. Cleveland's getting healthier. They found their identity again. They have one of the best defenses in all of football. I'm going Cleveland.
All right. Well, this is going to be the first one that we differ on because I actually did a little lock of the week for Trav and Rigney show. Another great show on our network here at Gozilla Media. Check them out. They're some cool guys. And I did my lock of the week, and my lock of the week was the Patriots. I didn't pick them so much so as I thought that they were the absolute lock of the week. Like I could have picked, the Steelers.
I was going to say, how is this a lock?
No. It to make it more challenging. Like Trav, he picks like games that are under 6 for the spread, okay. And Rigney picks an underdog.
Yeah, well,
lock of the week.
When they asked me to do it a couple weeks ago, it was when the somebody was playing Houston. Was it the Rams week? It might have been the Rams week. I'm like, Rams.
Yeah.
Lock of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
week, Rams.
So I made it more fun. I tried to pick a harder game, a game that was basically a toss-up. And I'm picking the Patriots because I just think, the Browns have been inconsistent all year long. And if there's one thing we know about Belichick and his defense is that when you have a quarterback who is not, top tier elite at reading defenses, which I don't think Baker is, when he's limited in certain ways. And I think that Bill Belichick is the man for the job when you need someone to confuse a quarterback who isn't, top of his game at reading defenses. And so I just think that they're going to try to force them to not run the ball as much, force Baker to throw it, and that he's going to make mistakes because that's what Baker does. And
I'm not saying.
the Patriots offense is going to do enough,
it.
especially home team. Home team really, Gillette Stadium can be a fierce.
I'm more just surprised you think it's a lot. Like I had trouble.
I don't think it's necessarily a lock.
No, I know you explained it.
I
know you explained it, but I'm just saying. Like I had trouble picking this game. Like I was like, all right, New England's gonna win. No, I like Cleveland. It was a tough game for me.
But it looked at games that had less than 6 spread, and like the Vikings Chargers, I didn't want any part of. Eagles Broncos, I didn't want any part of. I don't know. I felt the most confident about the Patriots. Weird enough, I think they're surging right now. They won the last 3 games in a row, and
they're certainly playing well.
Their defense is playing really, really well. And I think that, if there's any quarterback that could come through that could really get, exploited in that way, is Baker's one of them.
Charger. Well, you just mentioned this. Chargers Vikings. Look, the Vikings, man. I can't get a good read on the Chargers. The Chargers were very impressive last week, and they're home. Justin Herbert righted the ship. I'm going Chargers. They're one of the better teams in the AFC this year.
Yeah. It's just Vikings play such weird games where they were winning against Baltimore for a lot of that game, and then Baltimore just storms all.
Yeah, you thought Baltimore was going to lose that game.
Yeah, exactly. And so that seems to happen a lot with the Vikings, where they're just in weird games that are close, and if it comes down to the end like that, you don't trust Mike Zimmer. And I do trust the Chargers relatively. They've had some stinkers as well, but if I look at the two teams, I think there's just way more talent on the Chargers side, and I think that they'll put it together, and especially them being the home team, I'm going Chargers.
This game might be the battle of the backups, Taylor. Carolina at Arizona could be very well PJ Walker versus Colt McCoy. Get your popcorn ready.
I freaking hope not, because I have Kyler Murray in at least 2 leagues, and I had to start like Ben Roethlisberger, and I started Jordan Love.
Yeah, it sounds like they're going to be very cautious with Kyler. He is going to likely be a game time decision against us. Look, if you go out and beat San Francisco with Colt McCoy, there's no reason to believe you can't do it with Carolina and PJ Walker. Arizona's proven that for now. Long term, you're not going to be able to survive with Colt McCoy. You're just not.
Well, in the playoffs, but you can win.
But right now against Carolina, I don't think it matters. Kyler or Colt McCoy, Arizona's going to win this one.
Yeah, taking Arizona too. They proved that through adversity. They lost JJ Watt. They're playing without D-Hop and Kyler Murray, and they still managed to win the game. They've won every sorts of which way. The one game that they lost, they probably should have won. Mm-hmm. It was just a freak play at the end against possibly the second best team in the NFC, or the best, depending on who you are, right. In the Packers. And it's just, the Cardinals are good. There's no 2 ways around it. You can't deny it. What they did last week, I know it was against San Francisco, who maybe is not the team that we thought they'd be, but still, they did enough without their quarterback and their top wide receiver. So yeah, Cardinals all the way. Plus, I'm never picking the Panthers again.
Birds at Broncos.
Someone's gonna have us on in their car, and they're gonna stop at a red light, roll down their window, just birds. They're like, fuck, man.
Go Birds. Eagles and the Flower Power heads out to the Mile High City to take on the Denver Broncos.
Oh, wow.
What? Got to water and fertilize, man. We're building the roots. We're building the roots. Okay.
I'm gonna call the Eagles the Powerpuff Girls from now on.
It's pretty damn close. The Denver Broncos coming off their best win of the season against the Dallas Cowboys. All right, come on. I'm hungry here. The Denver Broncos beat the Dallas Cowboys. I think they peaked. They are banged up on defense. They will not have Pat Surtain. Traded away Von Miller. Clearly, it didn't have an impact last week. However, the Eagles are finding their identity a little bit on offense, and I think with what the defense is doing, Teddy Bridgewater is not going to light up the scoreboard against this Eagles defense. This kind of plays into the Eagles' hands with the soft cover too. They're going to be able to run the football a little bit with Gordon and Williams, but I think this Eagles offense finding its identity, running the football more. I think they're going to do enough to win this one out on the road. They kind of see themselves in, like, listening to the team this week, they kind of see themselves in the playoff hunt. This isn't a team that's really giving up. They kind of see a road to the postseason, which is a scary thought in my opinion, but they do have a path. Denver is one of those teams. They have good games. They have really bad games. I think this Eagles team might be turning the corner a little bit. I'm going Eagles.
Yeah. Man, I'm really tempted to pick the Broncos, but I don't think I should because I don't believe that anything that they did against the Cowboys was anything.
In my opinion, that's an anomaly. It really
agree.
is.
And the Eagles coming to their own. I mean, they're averaging in the last 2 weeks, close to 200 yards. They might have actually, if you put it all together, because
they're averaging 186 yards over the last 2 weeks on the ground.
Yeah, so that's
a lot.
That's very good.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Without Miles Sanders.
I mean, your top rusher, whether it be Howard or Hurts or whoever you have going, it's a running back by committee and a half because there's 5 different guys who have at least 10 in last week's game, and it's just
it's been Howard, it's been Boston Scott, Kenny Gainwell, and then obviously Hurts.
And Hurts, yeah.
So the run game's
Rieger
working.
got a run the other day. The last game, I think, or the one before.
Yeah, for -5 yards. Don't get me started on Jalen fucking Reagor. Could have Justin Jefferson, but no, you want Jalen Reagor. Howie Roseman. Seattle at Green Bay. We're hoping it's Russell Wilson versus Aaron Rodgers. It could very well be Geno Smith versus Jordan Love. We don't really know yet. The expectation is Russell Wilson's going to play. The expectation is Rodgers will be back, but neither is certain. In the air. I'm going to assume, Taylor, that it's Russell Wilson versus Aaron Rodgers when I make this pick, just for context. Yeah. If it's Geno Smith versus Jordan Love, I'm going Seattle. Uh-huh. So I'm kind of, so can we do 2 picks here? Can we do if it's Geno Smith, Russell Wilson?
So but what if it's Aaron Rodgers but no Russell Wilson, or Russell Wilson but no Aaron Rodgers?
All right, so we're just going to do
4 different things. Yeah, we have to do one.
All right, I'm going Green Bay.
Okay, I think that's a safe bet to go with, and I will probably also go with Green Bay just because. I mean, even if Russ is there, Seahawks obviously have flaws, and the Packers are one of the best teams. Like I just said, either 1 or 2 in the NFC, maybe in the whole damn league, because the AFC is just a whole mess. Besides maybe Tennessee.
Oh no, the NFC is much deeper, deeper than the AFC
for sure. No, that's not even a question, because after Tennessee and maybe Baltimore, I don't know how you.
It's a bunch of 5-3 and 5-4.
Yeah. And then, I think the Packers are going to win in this game. If they have Jordan Love, they probably won't, especially if it's Russ versus Jordan Love. That would be rough. That would be real rough. Yeah. But maybe he looks better. I mean, that was his first game, so.
The Chiefs. It's against the Chiefs defense that's not very good.
I know. All right. I'll go Packers and hedge my bets anyway. But
there we go. All right. Sunday Night Football: Chiefs at Raiders out in Vegas. Right. I mean, this game. Look, the Chiefs look horrible. the Raiders just lost to the Giants. You've lost your 2 first-round picks from last year's draft. Your head coach is fired. You're a dumpster fire of an organization, but the Chiefs are stumbling. Flip a coin. I'm going with the Chiefs.
Yeah. This one's
I know it's
harder
gross.
than it should be. Harder than it really should be.
I mean, I look at this game in September and I'm like, Chiefs.
Of course. You mark it down. You don't even think about it. But like I said earlier in the year, I've said it a couple times. I think that especially in the beginning of the year when I thought that they'd be fine, I was like, I don't think I'll ever pick against the Chiefs just because,
and here we are. We're definitely. I can guarantee you, we're going to be picking against the Chiefs at some point the second half of the year.
And I haven't picked against them yet.
Neither have I. Nope.
But and like this is the time where it's like that now I'm tempted. I'm really tempted because I could definitely see them just lay an egg against
have
the
trust
Raiders.
issues.
But the Raiders are just like missing so many pieces, and they've gone through so much turmoil this year, like so much controversy, and just there seems to be a dark cloud over the Raiders, and I don't know if anything will get them out of it besides
it's called thinking putting a football team in Las Vegas being a good idea. That's what it's called.
Yeah, well, yeah. I guess I'll go Chiefs, but I hate it.
I know, me too.
Which is weird.
I do too. Monday Night Football is an NFC West divisional matchup between the Rams and the Niners. Look, I mean, both teams disappointed last week. Both teams should have won last week and got absolutely dominated on both sides of the football. When it comes down to it, though, the Rams are the better team and still one of the top teams, in my opinion, in all of football. San Francisco's not that good. I don't think this is exactly particularly a close call here. I'm going Rams.
Yeah. I'd have to go Rams because the Rams are a good team. I think that they are still one of the best teams in the NFC. Mm-hmm. I just think that the Tennessee defense is just very good, and that was all that was. I mean, Stafford still has 23 touchdowns on the year. Cooper Kupp's having an amazing season, especially, I mean, fantasy-wise, he is far and away the MVP so far this season. So, yeah, I have to go Rams. I mean, the Niners don't look as good as we thought they would. I think
they are who we thought they were.
Well, they're not who I thought. But
that's why we took damn field. Now, if you want to crowd them, then crowd their ass. But They are who we thought they were. All right. I'm getting hungry, man. I'm starting to get delusional. My God. Before we go to our fantasy studs and duds, I do want to give a shout out to Jared Lozier at Northeastern Insurance. For more information about what he could provide you insurance-wise, check out his information at GozillaMedia.com. That's Jared Lozier at Northeastern Insurance at GozillaMedia.com. Let's go to our fantasy studs and duds, Taylor. Oh boy. There's just, this is the time of year where like your stars are getting banged up. You don't know if they're playing each and every week. You're scrapping the waiver wire. You're praying to God somebody hits. Who are you starting this week? Who do you think you can rely on as you head down the backstretch to make that playoff push? Otis says, don't screw it up. Otis says, if you screw it up, I'm going to poop on your computer.
All right. I had a couple. I think an obvious,
really not that hard of a question, Taylor.
I think an obvious stud this week is Najee Harris against the Lions. Just because, you know, the Lions have gave up 236 to the Eagles. That's a lot. 120 to the Vikings and 142 overall rushing yards to the Bengals. That's just the last 3 weeks. The only team that didn't really exploit the run game was the Rams, but they did it through the air. So I think that the Steelers are going to run the ball a lot. And I think Najee Harris has one of his best games of his young career.
I agree with you. But I am going to go with James Conner. With Chase Edmonds expected to miss some time with that ankle sprain. They're playing Carolina. Now, I'm not saying James Conner's going to get 40 plus carries or anything like that, or anything close to what he did last week. But he's the goal line option on a high-powered offense. Clearly, I mean, Colt McCoy or not, he's going to get the football. Even if he cedes some work to Eno Benjamin, who was a pretty popular waiver wire guy this past week, Conner's going to be effective. Good matchup. Panthers have allowed the fourth fewest points to the position on the year, but have been more generous in recent weeks. So don't really look at that stat because they've given up 4 total touchdowns to running backs in their last 4 games. So the production is there. I am going to go James Conner at the running back position.
He was the other one that I was thinking of doing, so I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, and I probably would have gone something pretty damn close to Najee Harris if you didn't pick him. So it worked out in the end. Who are we sitting, Taylor? Avoid at all costs.
I think that it would be a bad start to start Myles Gaskin. I really do. I think
good, because I'm starting him.
Well, if I made the case, I think in the loss or the week that the Ravens were playing the Bengals that you shouldn't play Joe Mixon, and he did have 59 yards and a touchdown, which overall, if you take away the touchdown, it wouldn't have been a great day. Obviously, he got into the red zone, the end zone, so it took away a little bit from that being a dud. But I still believe in this Ravens defense. Last week they allowed Dalvin Cook to have 100 yards, but that's Dalvin Cook, and I just don't think Myles Gaskins is Dalvin Cook in any means. And then, I mean, the Bengals, like I just said, they limited Joe Mixon a lot. If he hadn't had that touchdown, it would have been a terrible day for him. And then against the Chargers 3 weeks ago, they allowed only 12 rushing yards total. So I really do think that Myles Gaskin is a sit tonight, or well, it would be tonight if you're listening on Thursday.
It'd be tonight, yeah.
So yeah, a little last minute advice. Hopefully,
believe it or not, I disagree. I mean, I agree with you. I disagree on that. I'm gonna start Gaskin, especially with Brissett. He's been productive and he's been stumbling backwards into the end zone. So I mean, somebody has to produce for him. Gaskin is a guy. I think. I mean,
they don't. They could only score like 6 points. Who knows? Miami's not that great.
No, it's not. No, they're not.
But I mean, I'm sure they'll get some garbage time, something or other. So maybe he'll salvage the day. But I just don't think he's gonna have a very high day. Maybe he gets in the end zone and then you walk away with 10, 11, 12 points. But
this has been a popular guy, and I'm going to go to the wide receiver position. He's been a popular guy of late, and that would be Tim Patrick of the Denver Broncos. And it's kind of the same reason why I said not to start Mike Williams. And he had one big play last week, but really was shut down outside of that.
Mike
the Eagles
has been not great recently.
Right. And so Tim Patrick is another guy I'm looking at. The Eagles have been pretty tough against receivers this year. Keenan Allen had a good game, but that's Keenan Allen. Tim Patrick is not in that category. I'm sorry. If I'm looking at Denver Broncos guy to start, Jerry Jeudy would be a good option possibly, but Tim Patrick is not going to be that guy, especially with Noah Fant returning to the lineup. I just have a feeling that Steven Nelson and or Darius Slay should be healthy as well. I feel like in a game where, obviously Teddy Bridgewater throwing the football, Tim Patrick's been good, but at some point there's going to be too many mouths to feed for a quarterback that doesn't really throw the football that well or that often. And I think Tim Patrick is going to be kind of that odd man out. He's having a good year. He's been a good fantasy asset for a lot of the year, but this week I would look for better options for sure. Before we head on out of here, I do want to give a little love to the NBA. And before we even do that, I want to mention our good friends up in Saratoga Springs. That would be Saving Face Barbershop. I am going up there on Friday. I have a haircut appointment before I head to State College, but definitely check it out up there. They have a bunch of barbers up there, 4 or 5 really good guys, including our boy Jeremiah. You can book online or give them a call as well. They're off exit 13 end of the Northway. They have multiple, they have close face shave offers. They have the 30-minute shave haircut offer as well. They have veteran offers, senior citizen discounts, youth discounts as well. And of course, just a really cool atmosphere. They offer at-home services as well, but I do not recommend it. They have sports on all the time, a bunch of TVs, cool dudes to talk to as well. So definitely check them out and mention Bryce and Taylor from Sports with a Z and a T as well. That's Saving Face Barbershop up in Saratoga Springs. Ask for Jeremiah or any of the other awesome barbers they have up there. Let's go to the NBA for a little bit, Taylor. And I want to mention our quick NBA top 5 rankings right now. Honestly, a lot of chalk so far, but some surprising options as well. If you look at the current standings, the Heat, the Sixers, the Bulls have been the best teams in the Eastern Conference and the West. The Warriors are playing lights out. The Jazz have been good. The Mavericks have been good. Suns are up there as well, while the Lakers, Clippers, teams like that have been kind of sputtering, out of control. The Clippers have won 5 straight, so they seem to be turning it around. But when you look at the power rankings, Taylor, and in my opinion, and you could give your thoughts as well, I don't care. It may seem a little biased, but guess what? It's not. The Sixers right at the fucking top, baby. When Tobias Harris got yanked off the court minutes before tip-off because of testing positive for COVID, it seemed like it was going to be a bad week for the Sixers. And now Joel Embiid has COVID as well, so they're kind of not playing up to par. But this bench is deep. Tyrese Maxey is turning into a Sun superstar in the making. Embiid is playing at his MVP level, obviously out for COVID right now, but this is a team that's, even without their top stars, almost beat the Knicks the other night, almost beat the Bucks on Tuesday night. Sixers team as well that I feel like is proving that they don't need Ben Simmons. So anything that they get for Ben can only help what they are, what they could possibly do this year. I'm going to go with the Golden State Warriors as well. They're going to get Klay Thompson at some point back as well. This is just a team that just keeps on rolling. They've won multiple games in a row. Steph Curry's playing well. Draymond Green's playing well. Gary Payton is playing lights out. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card. But this is a team waiting for Klay to come back, playing really well. I'm going to throw your Heat in there, Taylor, as well. Tyler Hero's playing well. Jimmy Butler's playing well. Obviously, whatever the hell happened on Tuesday night, we won't talk about that. But the Heat, and they look to be what really hurt the Heat last year, Taylor, was they weren't healthy. They got off to a slow start, and they really couldn't rebound from it. It's a little different this year. They're playing better, and they just seem to be a little more into it this year. I can't discount Brooklyn. Yet. With KD and Harden, Harden's not really playing that well, but KD is. And then who knows what Kyrie. If Kyrie's going to come back or not this year, we don't really know. And then I'm going to throw in the Mavericks. I know the Jazz are playing well, but I'm going to throw in Luka. What he did against the Celtics the other night. Oh my goodness gracious.
The dude is crazy.
But I think Luka and what the Mavs are doing. So that is my top 5 right now when it comes to the power rankings: Sixers, Warriors, Heat, Nets, and Mavericks.
Mine's going to be similar but slightly different. I do give a lot of credit for Philadelphia with what they're doing, especially because they're facing so much adversity, because they have the Ben Simmons crap hanging over their head, and Toby going out, and everyone playing with their B team basically still winning that game. Or no, they didn't win that game, but they almost did.
They almost did.
They were leading.
It came down to the last 30 seconds. Yeah. It came down to the last 30 seconds. They were down 6 guys against the Bucks. 6 guys. I mean, it was very hard to do. I've been impressed with the coaching job Doc Rivers has done, and this team is buying in. They're proving they don't need Ben. The younger guys are stepping up, and this is a team once they're back. I hope nothing but the best for Embiid. Apparently, COVID is kicking his ass. Toby should be back soon, but this is a Sixers team. Once they get past this next week or two and get back, they've been playing some really good basketball.
Yes, and I give them all the credit in the world, but I'm going to put them at 2 because I have the Golden State Warriors at 1.
Fair.
Because I just think that they are just playing some type of way right now. Like Steph Curry is doing Steph Curry's things. He's always going to do them, but putting up 45 and then 50. I think he broke a record because no one's done it at his age, putting up 50 points. But that's the thing is we don't really know if ever will his game really decline because he doesn't rely so much on sheer athleticism. So as he gets older, he'll still be able to shoot. And that's what he's best at. And that's why he's the best player who's ever lived at. And I think most people would agree with that. And I just think the Warriors right now are on another level and they're playing with such teamwork. It's great to see. I appreciate this Warriors team a lot more than when they had Kevin Durant.
Because they're grinding. They're grinding.
Yeah, exactly. And they're coming back and with all these young guys playing. And then we just came across my phone that Clay may return before Christmas. They're hoping maybe, December 20th or something. And when he comes back, this team is already good. And you add him in there. I mean, it might take them a little bit to come back into the groove of things, but I think they're going to be well-deserved of that 1 spot. And then I have the Sixers right there, and then I'll put my Heat right there at 3 because they're constructed. You're right, they're healthy, and they're getting off a hot start, which is really going to help them down the stretch. But I think just the offseason moves to get Kyle Lowry, to bolster with PJ Tucker. This team is really playing to the identity of like Jimmy Butler and just being gritty on defense.
Yeah, that's what they had to do. They had to build around Butler.
Exactly. Be gritty on defense. You want everyone to have his kind of attitude defensively, and especially PJ Tucker he's just a great add because he adds that shooting on the outside, but also that toughness, that not afraid to go up against anyone. And then Tyler Hero really coming into his own. A lot of people were doubting him. Thought that he wasn't as good as everyone hyped him up to be after he scored the youngest player to score 30 points in an Eastern Conference final against the Celtics 2 years ago on their way to making the finals. But a lot of people thought that was, bubble, all that crap. So it's nice to see that he is actually showing that, he can be that guy. And he's looking to get, 6th man of the year, looking out for it. And then after that, I think I'm going to put the Jazz at.
Yeah, I was close with the Jazz. I was close with the Jazz putting them in, but I left them out.
I think I'm going to leave the Nets out just because I know that they're good, but like Harden struggles and we don't know what Kyrie is. And there's only so far I would think that Kevin Durant can drag this team. And Harden struggling with the new rule changes and stuff. I think they can easily get back into the top 5 for me, but right now I'm holding them out. So I'm going to put the Jazz up at 4 and I'll put Dallas up at 5. I love Luka and I love what he's doing and he's just insane.
I mean, honorable mention, the Bucks have really stumbled out of the gate, but they're starting to turn it around. Chicago, I like Chicago as well. And Phoenix is playing well, but I think there's a clear like top 5, top 6 right now that seem to be trying to separate themselves from the pack a little bit. Obviously, the Sixers record wise, it might hurt for the next week or two, but when they get back and healthy, this is something that I think is going to look like a pretty damn good product out there. And obviously, who knows what's going to happen with Ben Simmons? There's reports that he's interested in going to Boston.
Yeah,
bye.
That's weird.
See ya.
Weird. I don't like that at all. But
no, I don't either. But guess what? I'm over it at this point.
I hate that fit. Maybe it works for them. And then we got the Suns in Denver. That's the only 2 teams I think in the top 10 that we didn't mention here. But Denver is relying way too much on Nikola Jokic. And
they don't have much depth. And Michael Porter has that back injury that he's going to be out for an indefinite period of time. Like I don't know.
I don't have
I'm concerned.
I don't have the stat pulled up right this minute, but I know through their first couple of games they were like, plus 26 when Jokic played and like minus 43 when he was like off the court. And it's just like you can't just sustain that. It's unfathomable.
I mean, people want to mention the Wizards right now. They're off to a pretty damn good start.
Yeah.
Harrell has been good off the bench. Kuzma has 4 double-doubles. Bradley Beal, sure. But I don't think it's sustainable. I'm not going to sit here and say that the Wizards are going to maintain their success in the Eastern Conference. That is very, very good. The Knicks are what they are at this point. I'm just going down the list. We told you our concerns about the Lakers. I just don't see the fit. And then obviously as you go down the list, some of the really, really bad teams out there, the Pelicans, Pistons, Rockets, Magic. But anywho.
I was going to say, I like to partake in playing my PS5. I was playing NBA 2K the other day. And I went to like play online, and you get like the tiers of the teams.
Yep.
They have the Knicks in the top tier. They're over a 90 overall.
No.
And like, I mean, the Knicks have been good, but like
they're not fun to play with on 2K.
No, they're not. Chicago definitely should have been higher. Chicago's still a tier 2 team, along with the Mavericks. So I was like, what? Why are you giving so much love to the Knicks? I mean, I know they played well in the beginning of the season, but damn.
Yeah. I really don't understand the love for the Knicks, but that's neither here nor there. That is another jam-packed episode of Sports with a Z and a T. We'd like to thank all of you for tuning in. You can follow us on Twitter at sports_podcast, as well as myself and Taylor's personal accounts at ZBryce21 and at TLats with 2 T's and 2 S's. You can obviously find this episode, and every episode of Sports with a Z and a T on Apple, Spotify, and or YouTube. And of course, we are sponsored by Mohawk Honda, Johnstone Supply in Troy, and Saving Face Barbershop up in Saratoga Springs. We are presented by Gozilla Media, and we'd like once again thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, you like, you comment, you reply, you interact with us on Twitter, and all that fun jazz. And we'll make sure to respond to you guys as well. We do love the interaction of our fans, and obviously it makes for some even better content. For Taylor, I am Bryce. Stay safe out there. We will catch you next week.
See ya.